when I think I was 12 years old was when I decided, when I grew up, I wanted to be a famous actor.
Thanks, guys.
Why are you laughing at that?
Jeez, good thing you did it. I wanted to be a famous actor. And that was like my dream for a long time. Getting into high school, I played sports, but I always wanted to do theater, but I was kind of scared to do theater. Just because, so my freshman and sophomore year, I chose not to, but then my junior and my senior year, I did two of the musicals at my high school, and I knew I wanted to be an actor. I did my senior project on being an actor, we filmed the performances, and then I had someone cut up the tapes with just my performances, that had a synopsis on it and everything, because obviously your senior project in high school has to do something with career-related, if you guys even do that. I graduated in 2010, so I don't even know what school's like anymore 8 years ago. But that's what I wanted to do. That's what I want to be for a really long time. I wanted to be an actor. When I got out of high school, I got in contact with an agent, and I submitted some photos and whatnot, and tried to get acting gigs. It was so difficult though, right? He'd say, okay, be here at this time. I'd be like, all right, cool. So I go somewhere to downtown Portland. You know, I'm 6 foot white guy with blue eyes. I walk into a room for a part, the busboy, all right? So it's I got my one line. I remember this line too. It's I was supposed to say, well, it's your lucky day. That's all I was supposed to say. So I walk into this room, right? 6 foot white guy, blue eyes, 20 years old. I look around, I see 13 other 6 foot tall white guys with blue eyes, about 20 years old. I'm just oh my gosh, how am I supposed to say one line so fluently, so clearly, so Daniel Day-Lewis, Leonardo DiCaprio in a way that they're just gonna be oh my gosh, we're just gonna give you the lead role, man. Screw the busboy part, you're gonna be the lead. How am I supposed to go in there and compete when there's all these carbon copies of me, right? So there's a lot of the auditions, I went to 4 of them, were like that. And I remember wanting to be an actor for such a long time. The agent thing, it was so difficult. And I know that if you want to make it as an actor, you usually got to move to Atlanta or LA or somewhere. Usually it's actually only those 2 places, and now Portland, believe it or not, because those are the big places, especially Portland, where independent film industry is. Anyway, not getting into that. But I wasn't really willing to relocate or move or anything like that. I was just started to work a normal job because you need money. And I really wanted to be an actor. And in April of 2013, I actually left to do an acting school. I was like, you know what? I haven't had much luck figuring out how to break into this industry, but I want to figure out how can I do it. So there was this acting program in Hawaii that was associated with this organization called Youth with a Mission that I went and I did when I was 19. They have an on-campus place called University of the Nations that is accredited and whatnot for some of these different types of arts certificates and whatnot. And so I decided I would do that. I went there, I learned a lot about acting, and I have a demo reel that's actually on YouTube. I'm not going to plug it though. And I'm 23 years old and it's pretty cool. But I really wanted to be an actor for a long time, but the school I went to was a Christian-based organization, and so being around that type of teaching and being around those people, I was able to not lose sight of my relationship with God. And so I was constantly in the Word, and I was constantly praying when I was over there. And during that time, God said to me, He said, I called you to acting school to tell you you're not called to be an actor. What? And I remember just being in the prayer room, and I heard that so clearly, because there was a prayer room over there. I was just sitting there praying. I was like, God, what do you want? What do you want for my life? What do you want for, what do you want me to do? And I remember my mentality was more not God, tell me what you want me to do. My mentality was, God, here's what I want to do. Can you make it happen? And God was very much like, Daniel, if you are truly going to surrender your life to me, this is not what I want you to do. And so I went over there. It was a 3-month program, and I remember just sitting there wow, I know the fact I'm here is there's a whole testimony to it. Like, this school cost $6,000. I was a newlywed, and we just bought a house, and my wife, she's going to school full time, so she couldn't work to, like, even if we had like the $6,000 to pay for the school, like, she couldn't work because she was in school full time to pay our bills each month. So me going to school not only would take us paying all that money, but also it'd be 3 months of us not paying our bills. And so I just had this opportunity for the school, and I was like, it'd be really cool. I'm just going to tell the story. It's so cool. I like telling stories anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, stop. Who is that talking? Is that Xander?
Yeah.
Gosh, man, it sounds like just a baby. Man. Oh, let's sweet little Xander. But he's good though. So let me break it up then. So I was talking with a friend who is still associated with this organization, and I was talking to him about how, like, I really want to be an actor, and how I want to, like, affect the industry for the cause of Christ and all those things. He's like, hey, you should really consider this acting school. And here's when it starts. Here's how much it costs, and here's what it looks like. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Thanks for letting me know, but I knew for a fact there's no way I was able to do it, right? Just bought a home. I was the only source of income because I was working and my wife was going to school full time. So I was like, you know what, this is really cool, but there's no way I'm going to be able to go. So that same day that I was talking to my buddy, the church I used to go to, we had like a big men's meeting, and I went to that with my dad. And we went to the men's meeting, and instead of just like preaching like this, it was like we'd break up into groups, and there'd be like 3 or 4 of us at a table, and we'd just be talking about whatever like the video we showed was. And so I'm in my group with like my buddies, and we're all just like talking and whatnot, and they're like, saying their perspective on whatever it was, and just talking about, what we were there for the night. And I was like, hey guys, can I say something really quick? And like, what? I'm like, hey, so like, I really want to be an actor, and they're all just like staring at me. Okay? And like, I really want to be an actor. I was talking to a friend today who like recommended this school to me, but it's literally impossible for me to go. Like, I can't just quit my job and not pay our bills for 3 months, and I don't have $6,000. I think it'd be really cool to go. But I was just wondering if you guys could just pray for me, because I remember being at this men's meeting and just not hearing, like, we watched some video, whatever, and I don't even remember anything about the video. What?
It was the book.
It was the book?
Watch the book series.
Okay, yeah, it was something like, so you were there. Yeah. So I remember, like, not remembering anything that happened. Because this whole time this video's going on, I'm just like, man, it'd be so cool to go to an acting school. That would be so cool. But, like, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And so they're all talking about that. I was like, guys, keep praying for me. Like, all I can think about is, like, this acting school, and I really want to go. And it's like, yeah, sure, Daniel. We're good Christian fellows. Let's lay our hands on him. And so, we all prayed for me, and, it's like, whatever. And then we're about to go, and my dad gave me a ride. He's like, come on, Daniel. So I was walking out to the car, and my buddy, whose name is anonymous, came to me. He's like, Daniel, listen. Okay, so I can't stop thinking about this. I'm like, what? I'm like, you're acting school. I'm like, oh, cool. Keep praying for me. And I was like, no. Listen. How much does it cost? I was like, it's about $6,000. He's okay. Me and he's like my girlfriend at the time. He's like, we got some money saved up, and like if you pay me back within 10 years, I'll loan you the money. And I was like, what? No way. He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, sorry. I'm trying so hard not to say his name. Like my mouth just wants to like spit it out. I'm trying so hard not to. But I was like, okay. I was like, dude. That is so cool. He's like, yeah. And so I was like, all right. I mean, that doesn't solve the fact that I still have, a house payment to make for 3 months. But I was like, wow, that's really cool. And so my dad and I get in the car, and then he drops me off, and then I open the door, and Jessica, my wife's there, and she goes, Daniel. I'm like, what? And she's like, hey, you know that acting school you were talking to that guy about earlier today? I was like, yeah. She goes, hey, so I was talking to my friend, Megan, and she wants to move in with us, and she'd be willing to move in and pay like half of the mortgage for 3 months while you're gone if you want to do the school. And I was like, what? And this all happened within like a 24-hour period. A 24-hour period of me knowing like, okay, my wife can't work to pay for the bills, and I can't go and quit my job, and I need $6,000 to do it. All within like a 24-hour period, even less than probably a 12-hour period. All of that happened. And I was just like, this is 100% like God orchestrated this. And so that's how I ended up going. And it was so cool. I got a demo reel. It's on YouTube. It's really cool. I look so young in it because it was like 7 years ago. Anyway, 5 years ago, but that doesn't matter. God called me to that school, and then he told me, I called you to acting school to tell you you're not going to be an actor. And then God started changing some things in my life and started kind of revealing very small pieces, bits and pieces of my destiny. He says, Daniel, listen, the highest thing that you can do for the giftings I have given you is I just want you to tell people about Jesus, and I want you to be in ministry. And so I was like, all right. I went to acting school, and my thought was, when I come back, I'm going to break through in the industry. I'm somehow going to get some gig, and I'm going to be in some movies, and it's going to be really cool. But instead, I left, and God said, no. You're going to start preaching more at the youth group you volunteer at. Because I would speak like once every 2 months. My parents like let it, and they really wanted me to speak all the time, and I was just like, no, I don't want to. God said, go back home and take that seriously. They started to reveal bits and pieces of my destiny and push me in that direction. Tonight, I want to tell you that you all have a destiny, you all have a purpose, and it's a purpose of action. As in, you're called to do something. No one is called to eat, sleep, pay bills, and die. But you know what? So many people live life that way. But the calling and the destiny you have on your life is something bigger than you can picture. And worry is something that will destroy your destiny. You see, in that moment when I was at that men's meeting, I remember it's not difficult for me to talk. But I remember it being so difficult for me to tell my friends, hey, can you guys, I want to do this acting school. Could you pray for me? And I remember, feeling so cringy. And, oh gosh, I don't want to ask that. But for some reason I did, because I knew it was so important, and that, led to the chain of events and things that happened that allowed that to happen in my life. But when you're going to live in an attitude of fear, in worry in your life, that is going to stop you from getting to the place where you want to be. In the dictionary, I looked up the word fear. It's defined as a distressing emotion aroused by impending fear or danger, evil or pain, whether the threat is real or imagined. So fear is believing, essentially, for a negative outcome. I looked up the definition of faith, and it says confidence or trust in a person, a thing, or belief. Faith, essentially, is believing in the positive outcome. I'm driving and then my car breaks down, and then I call Michael and I'm like, hey, can you come pick me up? My car broke down. And then Michael says, yeah, sure. I can either sit there and say, oh, what if he never shows up and I'm stuck for hours? Or, no, I know Michael. He's dependable and he's going to show up. In that moment, I'm operating in either fear or faith. And in your life and in concern with your destiny and the plan and purpose God has for you, you are either operating in fear or you're operating in faith. With every situation you are in, you are either believing there's going to be a positive outcome or there's going to be a negative outcome. Philippians chapter 4, starting in verse 6, it says, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, which means be thankful for what you got, obviously. Very, very fitting for this time of year. Present your request to God as in pray, God, this is what I want to do. And the peace of God that transcends all understanding, something you cannot explain, will guard your heart and your minds in Christ Jesus. This whole verse, summed up, says, don't be scared and don't be stressed out. Because God knows that when you're living in worry, when you're living in stress, and when you're living in fear, that's going to cause you to not take action. Fear literally paralyzes you. If you have a dream to do something, if there's something really bad you want to do, whether it's big or whether it's small. For me, it was my junior year deciding if I was going to sign up and do the musical or not. Fear, which is believing for the negative outcome, will prevent you from doing that thing if you operate in fear. But if you operate in faith, no. It's going to be fun. I'm going to make a lot of friends, and I don't think I'm going to do half bad. That's operating in faith. And faith, even if you fail, causes you to take action. Fear, whether you fail or succeed, prevents action from being taken in the first place. You see, fear will paralyze you, and faith will cause you to take action. And we all have a plan. God has a plan and purpose for your life, for you to take action, the destiny, why you are here on this earth, what God has put in you, for your gifts, your talents, your abilities, what you have to offer, that's meant to be used for something. That's meant to be used to reach someone. But you're not going to get to that place, and you're not going to do that thing if you're operating in fear, because you're going to have so much belief in the negative outcome that stepping forward to pursue it isn't even worth it, because in your mind you already failed. And this is all stuff that psychologists will teach you, that teachers will say to you, but it was in the Bible years and years before, right here in Philippians, and it's in Matthew, it's in 1 Timothy. God says, I have not given you a spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and of a sound mind. When you are operating in love, power, and a sound mind, even if you are going to fail in your endeavor, you take the step to start it, because you're not believing in the negative outcome, which is by definition what fear is. Fear will paralyze you, and it will cause you to never act. Fear causes defeat in you before the battle is even fought. If you truly believe that you cannot do what you want to do, and you cannot fulfill your dreams, you won't even try. You won't even try. If you are so held by fear, whether you fail or you succeed, you would never know, because fear held you in the same place. And the Bible has said God has not given you a spirit of fear. That's something we adopt. That's something that influences us. That's something that when we have reason to fear, we meditate on that thought, we continue to empower it, and then all of a sudden we're operating in fear and we're continuously scared at certain areas in our life to the point where we never act. Tonight's sermon is called Worry, the Destroyer of Destiny, because your own inadequacy will not stop you from doing what God has called you to do. Your own imperfection will not stop what God has called you to do. No. The people around you will not stop what God has called you to do. Your city, your state, your country, your circumstances will not stop the power of God in your life, and they will not stop the destiny He has put you on. They won't. They're powerless to do it. The things that we fear will stop us, but it's that fear that instead stops you. When you internalize that fear, you look at your circumstances, you look at where you are, you look at other people, you compare yourself. I can never be that. I can never do that, so I'm not even going to try. You're operating in fear, and it's not those circumstances or those people that are stopping you. It's the fear that it lives inside of you. Worry will destroy your destiny. And God has put a deep desire in us, a deep calling, and a deep need for us to go after whatever that thing is. Again, we're not on this earth to eat, sleep, pay bills, and die.
Come on.
We're here to do so much more than that. You're here to reach someone, and you're here to go and do something. God has put something in you. There's guys that are really tech savvy and really smart. There's guys that are really tall and athletic. There's guys that are talented musicians. We are all made up with gifts and callings to do something. But so many people, you just kind of push that aside, and we ignore it, and we don't go there because we're so scared. I was watching a documentary on YouTube about fasting, and it was a health documentary. It wasn't a spiritual documentary. It was about a guy. The guy was like 364 pounds, and he was 29 years old, so a year older than me. And he was like, he did this documentary. He's like, I am super overweight, and I need to do something drastic about it. So he went to the doctor and said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a 40-day fast. I'm not going to eat anything. I'm only going to drink water. And the doctors were like, hey, a fast that long is very dangerous. But if you're going to do it, you need to be coming here every other day so we can be checking your blood pressure, be checking your weight, be checking everything and making sure you're good. And in this documentary, like this guy, he went without, he did the whole thing. In fact, he got to about 38 days, so 2 days before, and he's like, I'm not hungry anymore. I just don't want food. It's not even hard. And then he found out like the world record recorded going without food was 55 days. So he's like, I'm going to try and not break this record. And so he actually went 55 days. And since he has the video proof, he submitted it to Ripley's Believe It or Not. But they denied him because they said they don't want anyone else trying to break the record because it's so dangerous. But this guy fasted literally for 55 days. And he lost like 68 pounds, and only 2%. No, it's like, 2% of that, I can't remember the math, was actually muscle. So he lost almost like all that in just his fat. And this guy, he was talking about near the end of the documentary, he was talking about how insecure he was being overweight, how insecure he was to talk to girls, and how insecure he was even with just relationships in general. And he said, I'm actually a really talented musician. He's like, I play like 6 different instruments, and I love to sing. And I've been able to do this ever since I was a kid, and I've always wanted to pursue a career in music, but because of my insecurity, mainly because of my body weight, I never did it. And so he's like talking to the camera, he's like, I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna pursue music for the first time in my life. I'm gonna do that. And just seeing that he had fear of self-image and insecurity that completely prevented him, like up to 29 years old, no idea what he's doing now, but completely all those years, something he was passionate about, that he loved, that he was involved in, that he was very good at, he just completely didn't pursue it all because he had fear of his own self-image. See, it wasn't just his weight that was holding him back. See, weight doesn't hold back musicians. Look at Meatloaf. My gosh. Or, oh wait, no, I was going to say, there's a girl I was going to bring up. I'm not going to do that. Do you guys even know who Meatloaf is? Yeah, okay, yeah, y'all youngins. Yeah.
I do.
I do, of course you do, because you love the 80s. But this guy was completely held back from doing what he wanted to do because of fear for his self-image. And fear is something that's going to destroy your destiny because it's going to paralyze you from moving forward. Matthew chapter 6, verse 25, it says, Therefore I tell you, this is Jesus speaking, do not worry about your life. Don't worry about what you'll eat. Don't worry about your body, what you're going to wear. Is not life more important than food and your body more important than clothes? He says, look at the birds of the air. They don't sow nor reap or store away in barns. Essentially, they don't go to the grocery store or grow food. He says, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than the birds? He says, who by worrying can add a single hour to his life? And why do you worry about your clothes? You see the lilies in the field. They don't labor, they don't work. But I tell you, even Solomon, who is the richest man alive, in all of his splendor was not dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow thrown in the fire, will he not clothe you, O you of little faith? So don't worry saying, what are we going to eat, what are we going to drink, or what will we wear? For pagans run after these things, and your heavenly Father knows you need them. But then he says here, but seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has its worries of its own. Each day has enough trouble for its own. This whole thing, he's saying, listen, God's going to take care of you. Don't be scared about what the future holds, because worry will do nothing but inhibit you, and it'll stop the plan and purpose that God has for your life.
If at all during this sermon you feel like you want to have a deeper relationship with God, you want to know what it means to be a Christian and know who Jesus is, click the link in the description below, and it's going to have a quick 5 to 8 minute video that's just going to explain salvation, Jesus to you, what it means to be a Christian, and everlasting life. So I hope if you don't know what that is, you go ahead and you click the link and you find out.